Hey everyone, welcome back to our Future of Work series. We're breaking down the impact of some great new technology, ways of digitization on the people, the processes, and the profits of the construction industry. We're here joined with our CEO and co-founder, Bassem Hamdy. Bassem, hello.
Hello again.
Thanks for joining us. In our intro, we promised we're going to kind of unpack some of those core financial workflows.
For sure.
Workflows that are part of the money workflow. The first one we're going to talk about is one that tends to fly under the radar.
People don't even know it's a broken workflow.
And people don't even know it's a broken workflow or that it's really part of the money workflow.
Yeah.
This first one is project initiation.
I know it's a fancy term, but it just means setting up a project.
Yeah.
And if you go to anybody in your company, this is like, what do they say? 3 blind men touching an elephant will say many different things.
Animals. Yes.
Yeah, it's exactly. We talk to an accountant. When does a project start? It starts when they put in the accounting number in or the project number in the accounting system. Ask the ops person, says it starts at pre-construction. Ask the business developer, it started on the golf course 2 years ago. Ask the estimator, it started on the first. And so nobody really knows. And actually at the end of it, you ask the marketer at your company, whoever is going to do the next proposal, and they go, it never started because I have no idea about anything about this project. And we can't use it to actually rebid a next project or bid a project. So the project initiation workflow is more than just something that you get started to get a project number. It's talking about how to actually coordinate the entire company around the only thing that a construction company produces, which is completed construction projects. Yep. So if you think about it, Apple doesn't start building an iPhone without any kind of playbook.
Right.
And this is the moment. You're building this beautiful thing, whatever it happens to be. Ultimately, you have to be able to coordinate the workflow to make sure that that thing you're building, everybody knows what it is. You got to take off the blinders and know what everybody is building together.
Yeah, and if you do it wrong, starting a project is very cash intensive, right?
That's correct.
And we hear a lot of companies today that are growing really fast, right?
Right.
Especially if you're working in some of these growing industries, technology and healthcare.
That's right.
Infrastructure as well. Starting new jobs takes a lot of money.
Yeah.
So you better do it. You better do it right.
You better do it right. And it's the seed of your entire company. You're planting a seed at that moment. And you know what they say, when a fish rots, it starts at the head.
Right.
When a project goes wrong, it starts at the beginning. It doesn't start anywhere else. You have to understand what you're actually building.
Right. So how do you know today and this is a question that's probably true for all these workflows that we're going to talk through over the next several videos here, but how do you know if you're doing it wrong today?
You have something called a project start worksheet in Excel. That's probably that's where you're going to start. You're doing it wrong when you had to create this Excel template that people use to get a job number. That's you're not good.
Right.
It's on the wrong track already because whatever that human is going to do it's not going to help.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just going to slow things down and you're going to lose this Excel file. I go into companies before Briq and there's directories and directories and directories of every project startup worksheet that has ever been created. And what that's done is to hand to a bunch of humans this piece of paper to get data entered into the 6 to 12 systems, get the directory structure set up, get this set up. Crazy.
Right.
That's when you're doing it wrong it's utter chaos to get this started. That's when you know what you're doing wrong.
100%. So let's talk about this in the context of the future of work.
Right.
In the future of work, what does setting up a job successfully look like?
Right.
Who's involved in it?
Yep.
And what's the outcome of doing it well?
Okay.
So let's start with what it looks like in kind of this new world.
So the way it works is a great orchestration from day one. This is what it looks like. Remember, everybody at your company uses their own system to get their job done. A business developer, for example, uses a CRM system to track opportunities that become projects, maybe become pre-construction awards, and then ultimately a construction award. They always will need to use a CRM system. That's just how business developers do their job. It's like a hammer and a nail. Business developers use CRM systems. Briq, and in the future of work, we're not telling them rip out that CRM system and use some unified product. That was the old days. That was the old Bassem.
Right. It was a
two decades ago.
Right.
It's like replace all your software, and as long as everything is run on the same ERP or enterprise system, everything's going to be great. Which, by the way, was never true because everybody had best of breed.
Yeah.
So the idea here is the individual doing their job and doing it well, the business developer in this case, or the accountant who's doing things like tracking budgets or updating revenue recognition or tracking payroll, which they need a job number with accurate cost codes. The idea here is everybody's going to do their job, but there's this magic hand on top of it, this orchestration layer, we call it. And it's intelligence orchestration. So as things get triggered in the CRM system, trigger it to award, that hand is going to reach in and grab what it needs to start the next relay race. And so just think about this as a workflow engine that sits above all of your systems and all of your people that is guiding the process in the best and most efficient way. And I think that's the key. When you do it right, that one time a year, you probably do it right. Now we can make that right replicatable.
Wow. Yeah.
We can keep on doing it. So just think of this technology like it's a technology. You don't need to know how it works exactly, but ultimately that technology is orchestrating workflows across systems and across departments. So when the business developer says this is a pre-construction award, that's all he or she needs to do. Because at that point, the orchestration engine, the Briq engine, is looking at the CRM system and understanding what just happened. It also understands what needs to happen next. So if it's a pre-construction award, you might need a job number immediately in the accounting system and the operation system. That information is sitting in Salesforce or in whatever CRM they're using. That data will magically show up in both their PM system and their accounting system. And you know what's better? It's always going to be right because the machine does really, really good work at reading something and then just replicating it. Now, garbage in, garbage out. If the business developer misspells the customer's name or misspells the project name, people will always come back and say, who's verifying this? The orchestration engine is, just like a human would. If the customer name is misspelt and there's no matching customers in operations or accounting, the orchestration engine can raise a hand and and ask the right question of the right person to fix that. So that's really the key here. It's that anomaly detection, which is fixing errors.
Right.
And then ultimately the double data entry that, everybody was promised an API or something to do, which never really delivered on what it was promised. This workflow engine is doing the work on behalf of humans.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned the API. And let's be clear, in this world, this isn't about a connection between a CRM and an accounting system, right? This is about, a human being part of a process of moving information from, their silo to the next silo.
That's right. And here's a very simple example that we fix for our clients. So in the CRM system, your customer code might be specific to a division of a large company. That customer might be, a Northwestern branch office of a national or international company. In your accounting system, that Northwestern branch is an address under a master customer code. APIs can't understand that translation.
Yeah.
That's just not how data transference works. This is not about data integration. That's been unfortunately, the future of work has been paused because there's all these integration projects that people have wasted time and money on that never really go anywhere. The idea here is that knowledge, that intelligence, that, Northwest AT&T office rolls up to AT&T National in Dallas. That intelligence to date has required a human to tell the machine what customer is coming from CRM and into the accounting system. When those little computer programs understand, they only have to learn it once. Somebody raises a hand, that computer program raises a hand. Once it's learned, it's stored in their memory forever. And it will be done correctly every time going forward. So that's where you start thinking, I can start teaching a little computer program to do the parts of my job that I hate, that make my company more efficient and more profitable.
Yeah. And we start with project initiation, not just because it is kind of the first step of the life of a job, but it's also one that is relatively low lift compared
Yes.
to some of the ones we're going to talk about.
Right.
In terms of automate, if there's a process you're looking at, say, hey, look, I'm on board with the future of work. I buy into the vision. I'm ready to go to the future of work church or whatever.
Yeah,
that is.
exactly.
Maybe project initiation is a good place to start. Depending on
one.
it's an easier one, right?
Yeah.
Not as complex. So one of the things we've done is we've actually prepared. We have kind of an example of what that might look like. So before, in the old world, you have an Excel model, a Excel file that someone passes around. Maybe it's printed out.
Stored in SharePoint.
Right. No one really knows where who owns it. Let's have a look at what that automated version looks like with Briq. Let's have a look right now.
Awesome.
All right, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about project initiation automation and the way you're able to sort of think about how Briq can help you in that type of process. So typically what we hear is when our customers get awarded a job, there's a lot of things that have to happen after you get awarded that project. And typically it starts with something like a job setup form or a project information sheet. And once that project information sheet, that job setup form is created, there might be a bunch of different actions that people need to take within the business. You might have somebody from your accounting group going to enter that information into the accounting system. Maybe somebody on the project admin side is going into a PM solution to create that job. There's probably the need to create some sort of folder file structure just in your own internal environment, just to store documentation and files as you iterate through different workflows within the business. And so what we want to focus on today is really how Briq can help automate that process. So what you're seeing here is a job setup form that's been created in the Briq interface. Again, Briq has that Excel-like look and feel. So we're able to personalize this if you need a different format or additional data points. And what you're able to do is we really want you to only have to fill the information out one time. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to fill out all this relevant information. I've pre-populated this one a bit. And with the tool, what you're able to do is I'm going to commit. And when I commit this, what I'm doing is I'm storing this data within the Briq database so that the Briq automations can then pick that information up and go set up this job in all of the appropriate places within the business. So whereas before a process like this might require 3 to 4 people, a few different individuals, a lot of different touch points. With this tool, we have one central source of truth. You're going to commit that data. And then what you're able to do is you're going to come over to our automation screen. And then what I can do from here is I can actually run these automations. So what's happening when I'm running this automation is that, or both of these, is that we're now taking all of that data and we're following a process that you have, as our customer, has designed. So we're going to log into Sage in this example the same way that a user would. We're going to open up your job setup module. We're going to set up and enter in all the appropriate data points the same way that a person would today. In Procore, we're utilizing the API in this scenario. We'd very easily be able to go in and set up a folder structure. So whether you have 2 systems or whether you have 15 systems that you need this job to get set up in, with our tool, you enter it one time in a Briq workbook, you commit that data, you run an automation, and as a result, the automation is going to take all that information, it's going to go set up that job. You're saving a lot of time in that regard, but there's also the idea that the information is guaranteed to be consistent between systems. So you're going to make sure that all of the relevant information is getting into the place that it needs to be pretty much at the click of a button. And so the way these automations can work is you're actually able to come in with our audit trail and you're able to see these videos in action. So literally we log into your solution the same way that a user does. We're going to enter in all that relevant information following the same process that you follow today. So the same way that a user for yourself goes in and enters that information, that's how the Briq tool is able to accommodate that. We take videos of our automations every time they run. We have detailed audit trails and alerting based off any potential failures, just so you can make sure all the relevant information is getting to the right place.
Great. So in that we see,
Yes.
It might look the same way that you're doing it. That's the great thing about this is that, you're able to kind of take the process you have today,
Right.
but rather than having you or Joe or Debbie or whoever it is constantly repeat it in a vacuum,
Right.
it's done by your bot employee, basically.
100%. And the idea here is that you're not changing. The future of work is actually funny because the future of work is what you're doing today, just less crazy and broken.
Right.
Right. You're not, nobody's asking you to change your base system, because ultimately you can continue using your Sage or your Salesforce or your Procore. It's just that when we're doing that interdepartmental collaboration, that orchestration engine, that workflow engine, that police officer of the playbook is doing the work on your behalf. It's making your job more human. Because you're not concerned about how do I use Salesforce or how do I make that work with Sage. That no longer is your concern. Your concern is only, am I doing the right thing to make my job more money?
Yeah, 100%. And the third thing that, we were talking about is who in the businesses is impacted. We talked about, what it looks like. We talked about, how to approach it.
Yep.
Who does it impact? Well, really, when we're kind of talking about it, it impacts everybody.
It always will. Everything's connected.
Right.
Like everything is connected. There's nothing in construction that can be done in a silo in reality.
Yeah.
As long as you know that, and that every department has a hand in it. The one thing that we see a lot of is before Briq, there's a lot of folks that kind of point fingers at each other.
Right.
And it's like, that's not my job. Or, the PM will be like, I don't want to be the accountant's data entry clerk, or accountants are saying the PMs aren't doing the work on the, that we need them to do. It's because nobody understands why the work is being done, because it seems repetitive. And it's innate in you. As an individual, that this extra work that you're doing that a machine can do is wasteful. That's why there's so much animosity,
right.
Accounting, IT, operations, estimating, business development. There's so much animosity there because they think that person's making me do this work.
Right.
And I'm doing it for them. But you're not. You're doing it for the business.
Right.
But it's useless, wasteful work. And that's the difference. That's what we want to remove.
Yeah, absolutely. So future of work, project initiation. Yes, it is indeed part of the money workflow.
Yes.
It is a really important piece of the puzzle. As we discuss more in this series, we'll see how good decisions compound.
That's right.
Well,
yeah,
right?
You're planting a cornfield, and when you use the right seeds, it's going to grow faster, and it's going to be healthier.
Yes.
And you're building a healthier business by having project initiation be automated from inception through closeout. That's the idea. The project never really stops.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. Great. Well, that's project initiation. Stay tuned for the next video.